Okay.
There we go. So yeah, it looks like right now we just have the note takers. So
all the AI in chat.
Try to have a virtual meeting, and all of a sudden, all the virtual bots show up.
It looks like
that might not be a bad service if you can like send your AI note taker to a meeting you can't attend.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're welcome. We have some people right now in the meeting.
Yeah, Adedapo. I think these are like that. See how it's like Otter's AI and Otter AI and Read AI. They sent their bots. That's okay. I'm going to start sharing here, and then, you know what, this is actually perfect because...
So has recording started? Okay, I think it's recording. Yes. Started. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So you can kickstart your presentation.
Yep. I'll get her started here. Enter full screen mode. So welcome to the second annual Minnesota Power Platform Community Meetup. We'll go right into it, just go over the agenda. So we'll start out just kind of with member intros, then we'll hand it off to Adedapo, kind of talk about all of the LLMs, get us grounded in reality, as I like to say, kind of put us where the technology really meets mathematics. And it's very matter of fact and not concepts that are all bros. So before we kind of start, I wanted to just emphasize what the Minnesota Power Platform community was about. But actually, we don't really want to empower every maker and IT pro analyst in Minnesota. Preferably, this group kind of will help people around the world. It's been kind of fun for me personally to just meet, Adedapo. I've met people from India. I've met people from Egypt. It's very interesting and kind of fun. I think AI has really helped me personally build, learn, and grow. But yeah, this group is mainly based in Minnesota. We want to have some in-person meetups, but we definitely are going to keep these virtual meetups going because it just seems easier for everybody to connect. And thanks to Adedapo's recommendation, I do actually like doing it on Saturday. So thanks for that recommendation, because I think this is a good time for people to just get together and just either listen or record this so they can really ground themselves in what this group is. So now let's go to the member intros. So kind of who am I? I'm Justin Trantham. I'm a Azure engineer by trade, but I'm really excited about AI. It's helped me in my job already. So that's kind of where it got me excited into the Discord groups and stuff like that. Yeah, Adedapo, if you wanted to kind of, who are you? I think I'm very curious. So are other people.
Okay, so my name is Adeniran. I'm a Microsoft MVP and a certified Azure engineer. I'm also a data scientist. I use Kaggle a lot, and I do a number of open source AI development on GitHub. So that's about it. If there's anyone else that would like to introduce themselves in the audience, they can actually do so right now. The floor is open for you.
I just allowed everyone's mic to just it seems like it leaves them disabled by default, so I just went through and enabled everybody's mic if anybody wants to talk.
Or they can just raise their hand if they want to.
Okay.
Talk.
True. There we go.
Okay. Someone wants to.
I think you can just unmute and talk.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
My name is Oluwasegun Michael Abi. I'm a data scientist and AI automation. So I recently met Dapo at a Microsoft event. That's how we met actually, and then I followed him up on trying to, telling him that I would like him to be my mentor and stuff like that. So since then, I've been following him up on pages. That's how I'm able to join this meeting. Thank you.
All right, that's good. You're welcome, Mr. Shegun. It's nice to meet you here. Okay. So, what about Mr. Caleb? Would you like to introduce yourself? It is okay.
Yes, I can introduce myself real quick. Hello, everybody. My name is Caleb Anderson. I co-founder with Justin of FlowDevs, but passion for automation. So that's why we're here in the Microsoft Power Platform group for Minnesota. But like Justin said, we definitely want to, have this benefit not just, of course, Minnesota where we're from, but also the whole world.
Cool. I think we're right on time, so I'm gonna kick it off to the next slide here, and we'll see. I'm actually let me to start us off with the AI. I'm gonna stop sharing really quick. The AI kickoff to hand off to Adedapo. We will do this share with odd sound, and then now this is the latest in video and language models from VO3. So
welcome everyone to the Minnesota Power Platform Community Copilot Kickoff. Let's learn and innovate together.
So, off to you, Adedapo.
All right. Let me just show you. Okay. Okay, can you see my presentation screen?
Yep, looks great.
Okay, good. Okay, so I would like to start off by this. So what comes to your mind whenever you hear AI, artificial intelligence? Do you think about cringy AI generated videos on social media? Or does the robotic comes to your mind first? Or do you think about end time AI taking over humanity? Or do you think about ChatGPT? What comes to your mind exactly whenever you think about AI? The floor is open right now. To anyone that wants to make a comment, what's the first thing that comes to your mind anytime someone mentions AI, artificial intelligence?
I can start us off if. Oh, there we go. Nope, yes, got a hand raise.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my name is Oluwasegun again. So for me, what comes to mind when I first hear about AI? Okay, before we have before this time we have this broad, diverse knowledge on AI. The first thing that comes to mind about AI is robotics. I mean, how robots can. We've seen. Personally, for me, I've seen many movies like AI movies. So, okay, for example, like the Terminator. Oh, I think that's Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? So that's robotics is the first thing that comes to mind first for me whenever I hear about AI. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay. So you wanted to say something, Mr. Justin?
Yeah. For me, it's coding, I would say. So writing code is where I've kind of used it in general, like generating things. It's like autocorrect on steroids, or it really does help me program better and even read some of the code. So for me, that's kind of what it is: agentic coding or vibe coding. But I think it's different for everybody too. So it's interesting you said robotics, because it can be there too.
Yes. Nice. For me, the first thing that comes to my mind is actually like an holographic, all-knowing, like a forward-facing, kind of like an entity. I don't know. I watched it in a movie. I don't remember the movie right now, but it's kind of like an all-knowing face, like with some bits of codes coming down its face. That's the first thing that comes to my mind anytime I think of the word AI. For me, generally. So we're going to move on to the next slide. So now let's talk about some common misconceptions of AI, things that we do, that I do personally here often. I do hear people say things like the AI engineers do not fully understand what's going on deep in their AI model, which is actually not true. I hear words like there's a black box. The black box is just something that is not really fully understood or whose explanation is beyond the comprehension of humans. There's really no such thing as that. The reality is that AI engineers that build this model know exactly what is going on in the background of the models. So the second common misconception is that AI behaves in ways can or will behave in ways that the AI engineer do not expect. While this can actually be, in a way, we can look at it from the angle of temperature. Temperature in large language models. For instance, when you increase the temperature of a large language model, we notice that the model tends to give out outputs that are less predictable. So in a way, it can be looked at in this aspect, but in an aspect of the AI doing things that are outside its definition or outside its environment, this actually does not happen, and the AI cannot see anything outside of its environment or outside of what it has been trained upon or outside of its training data set. Another common misconception is that the AI will take over our jobs as humans. As a matter of fact, AI is actually going to create more jobs for people. It is actually going to make people get into career fields they wouldn't otherwise be able to get into, because it makes knowledge more accessible, makes skills more accessible, makes us efficient at doing things we would otherwise not be able to do at a short period of time. So yes, AI will actually create more jobs rather than taking over jobs as humans. And also, there are some aspects. There will always be an human oversight to everything an AI does. Whatever an AI does, there has to be an human being at the middle to actually verify the work that the AI is doing. Because they are not humans, they always make mistakes, and they are just based all being powered by mathematical principles. And that AI is inherently evil, just waiting to gain enough power to exterminate humans. This is also a common misconception of AI. AIs do not have a mind of their own. Everything you're seeing in an artificial intelligence that seems to be very intelligent is just mathematical principles behind being trained, that has been trained on the real life data. That is why it seems like they're very, very intelligent. And as you know, we humans are the ones that create this mathematical formula. We are also the ones that actually did the extraction of all this data that has been used to train this AI. So an AI cannot get to a level where they'll be smarter than the mathematics that is powering them, also known as the algorithm that is powering them. So what exactly is an AI model, and how is it related to the training data? An AI model, essentially, it's a mathematical function. Can be a very simple mathematical function. It can also be a complicated mathematical function based on what the AI is predicting or based on the use case of the AI and how difficult or how complicated the problem that the AI is trying to solve or the question is trying to answer. Whatever the domain that the AI is working on will determine how complicated the math function is. So essentially, an AI model is just a mathematical function that takes in an input and then gives you an output. That output is the prediction of the AI. This is what is known as AI inferencing. That is, the inferencing is just you making prediction. So there's one other concept I would like to correct. Now, when people are communicating with an AI model such as ChatGPT or GPT-4o, they kind of believe that the AI, at the point that they're communicating with it, that the AI is still looking through some data, is still picking up some data, or try to to just looking through the data. There is no data lookup at the point of inference in an AI because the model has been built already, and once the model has been built, there is no need at that moment for the AI to be looking at the data. So there's a separation between the data set and the model. And once the model has been built already, we do not need to use the data set again at that point, unless you need to train the model again, in which case you're going to have a different AI model. So this is how a model is related to data. It's not like every time you are interacting with the model, is looking up the data. It's not looking up the data at the point. It has already been abstracted. Everything it needs from the data set has already been gotten by the model to make the prediction. So it does not need to be looking at the data every time. In fact, it doesn't actually look at the data at all anytime you're interacting with your model, such as ChatGPT or GPT-4o. So now let's look at this. So just so you know, AI is not a new invention. We're going to look at a brief history of AI, but before we do that, we just let you know that AI is a very broad term that stereotypically refers to reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning, such as Q learning, for instance, has to do with, for instance, if you've heard of robotic dogs, dogs that are learning how to walk, for instance, that have not been programmed into it to learn how to walk, but they have to actually learn how to walk on their own. So this is making use of reinforcement learning. And it also includes machine learning models, which also includes deep learning. And machine learning consists of supervised, unsupervised, and then reinforcement learning. Supervised learning just means that you labeled the data set that is being used to train the model. When you label the data set, the model then takes the data set and looks at your labeling to try to match it as closely as possible. In unsupervised learning, there are no labeling in the data set. So the model just goes into it and tries to look for patterns by itself using some mathematical principle. So an example of unsupervised learning is clustering. Example of supervised learning is regression and classification. And for reinforcement learning, which is what I just explained right now, an example of it is Q learning. So over there at your screen, if you can actually open this link, that would be great. So I'm just going to be looking at some of an history of artificial intelligence. So just so you know, artificial intelligence has been around for a very long time. The first person that actually pioneered the basic principles of AI right now is Alan Turing. He's just set the background of AI using talking about something such as the Turing test to try to see if a machine can pretend to be a human to the point where it's indistinguishable from humans. So he actually set the Turing test in 1950. And the first AI model was created in 1951 by Christopher Strachey. So just so you know that AI is not actually a new invention. It has been around for a very long time. So you might be wondering, so if AI has been around since as long as 1950, so why didn't we have such models back then? Now, the answer to this is because computers back then were limited in their memory. Yes, that's one. Two, they were also limited in their processing power. So back then, the artificial neural network that was created in 1954, it couldn't have more than 128 neurons. So ChatGPT that you're talking to actually uses artificial neural network. That's what it uses. It has a lot of neurons in it. But back then, it couldn't have 128 neurons. So if we could take the computers that we have right now back to 1954, perhaps we would have gotten ChatGPT in 1964. And today, right now, we would have been much more advanced in the AI models that we have presently. Otherwise, it's not what we are seeing right now. So I'm coming. So let me go back to my presentation. Good. So what are some commonly used phrases that are wrong? So we hear a lot of people saying that we train the data using AI. When someone stands up to explain, they use phrases such as we train the data. The data doesn't get trained. The data is what the model is trained upon. Yes, the model is trained upon the data. That is, the model is using the data to be trained. And when we're talking about training just means fitting the function, the mathematical function. When you fit a mathematical function, what it means is that you try to bring the function as close to the data set as possible. The data set just consists of several data points. So when you bring the mathematical function to touch as many data points as possible, it means that you are training the model that way. And then when you are training the model, you are reducing the error. To reduce the error, it means that you'll be calculating the mean squared error. Obviously, the machine does that. It calculates the mean squared error in every training to know how well it has fitted the function to the data set. And so we get all other things such as the algorithm is training the AI. The algorithm doesn't exactly train the AI. The algorithm is the math function itself that powers the model. Yeah, that's what it does. It's a math function that powers the model. So it doesn't exactly train the AI. No, it doesn't do that. Instead, it's the data that is being used to train the AI. That's exactly what is happening. So now let's set the record straight on what goes on exactly in an AI. An AI model, also known as a machine learning model, is simply a mathematical function that takes an input, does some calculations on it, and then outputs the results. That is what happens. So the input can be an human input, such as when you are chatting with ChatGPT, can be environmental input from sensors, such as when you have a smart wristwatch and it's taking input such as your heart rate, your blood pressure, your stress level. Those are some input that can be fed into an AI or virtual or simulated environment. If you have played some AI-enabled games before, like Farming Simulator, Farming Simulator also uses AI in it. So it's in a virtual environment. It takes in environmental input within the Farming Simulator game to determine where to go to while farming. So the output can be a prediction or a generation, but I would argue that generation is just a prediction in the reverse order. So it still falls under prediction. When you are actually chatting with a model such as Sora, and you ask Sora to generate a particular video for you, and then it comes up with a video. So those videos that you are seeing that is being generated is trying to predict what could align closely to your description based on all the data set it has been trained upon. So when you train a model on multiple data sets, such as multiple videos, and it looks at the description that you've given to each of those videos, so it begins to look for patterns, it begins to look for features. Features are also known as variables. It begins to look for variables in the data set that it can use to predict what that video is and how it's related to every individual pixels that exists in the video, and then it reverses it the other way around to generate the video for you instead of trying to determine what the video is. That is what generation is. So when we hear people saying predictive AI, generative AI, they are just two sides of the same coin. So now let's move on to how AI perceives the world. So everything is numbers to an AI. Talking about the video you're watching, everything gets crunched down to numbers. Talk about the pictures, everything gets converted to numbers. Talk about audio, it still gets crunched down to numbers, including text. The text that you're sending to ChatGPT, it is eventually converted to numbers before ChatGPT can understand what you're saying. So the understanding of an AI is just simply the result of multiple mathematical calculations that has been done on this number conversion before it then gives you a prediction. So when I send a message to ChatGPT saying hello, and then ChatGPT replies, "I'm doing great. How about you?" That response you're getting back from Chat is just a prediction. It's trying to predict the next sensible response is meant to give you based on the message you've sent back to it. And this is done by understanding the data set that it has been trained upon. So now, an AI does what? It extracts features. Remember, features are the same thing as variables. It extracts features from objects such as pictures, text, videos, audios, and the rest to predict what it is based on the data set it was trained upon. That is what happens when you're trying to use an AI to make inferencing. Inferencing is just how the AI is responding to you. So features are just variables that are either present in the data set or created by another mathematical function. So variables does not necessarily have to come from the data set that you provided for it alone, as in the case of supervised learning. In the case of unsupervised learning, variables can actually be created by the mathematical function itself, such as in clustering, such as in PCA, principal component analysis, when you're trying to create some variables by yourself using mathematical function. And then you should know that the dataset can either be structured or unstructured. Structured dataset just means that looking at the dataset, it comes in a particular form that does not change, such as a CSV file, a comma separated value file, such as a JSON file, JavaScript object notation file. It comes in a particular structure that does not change. That's a structured file, a structured data set. It can also come in unstructured, such as pictures or audios or videos. So these ones do not have a particular structure. Like a picture can come in different dimensions, can have different values. It's just like, should I say, all over the place. Is unstructured. It can actually learn from unstructured data set. It can also learn from semi-structured data sets, such as HTML. It's not fully structured and it's not fully unstructured. Can have multiple elements within it and sub-elements in it also. So I'm just going to go on to a beautiful demonstration of maths functions. Now, just so you know, everything I'm about to show you right now was done this way for humans to actually understand this thing that we're saying here. When we view the world in 3D, but an AI doesn't see the world the way we see it. Doesn't see 3D, doesn't see 2D or whatnot. What it sees is just series of numbers that can be in vector form, can be in scalar form, can be in matrix form, can be in multiple dimensions, but it's not actually seeing it the way we are seeing it right now. So I'm just going to share a bit of a 3D mathematical function quickly. I'm not really going deep into it, but I'm just going to show you something right here. Coming. Just a minute. Okay. Coming. Okay. So let me just share my screen right now. So don't worry, you can actually send your question. When I'm done with the presentation, I'll answer. We get to the question and answer section. All right, so now we are right on the screen. So I'm just going to share this. Okay. Can you see my screen? Is my screen showing?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. So let's just start the demo. Okay, so the demo has actually started. So what you're seeing right now are some examples of some functions right now. You can see, you can look at this as a data set. This graph you are looking at right now is a data set for we humans to actually visualize it. The machine learning doesn't see what we are seeing right now, but we are presenting it this way so that you can understand what is going on. You can see that it's actually changing. The graph is changing right now. The reason why this graph is changing is because we are changing the parameter. You can see we are changing the parameter which is at the lower left here. So when the AI is learning from the data set, what is happening is that it's changing some parameter. Right now, the parameter that is being changed here is n. If you look at the function, let's take it back a little bit. If you go back to where the function is, you can see that n is what is changing. And you can see where n is here in the function. So whenever that is being changed, what happened? The function is also getting changed. So that is how an AI model learns, by changing a parameter, by changing the parameters within the function. So like right now, let me just quickly go through some of this function, and we're going to see like a 3D function. So this 3D function that I'm about to show you right now just means that we have two variables and one prediction. The prediction here right now is the z, and the variables is the x and y variable. So for every x and y value, we are going to have a prediction of z. So it just looks at what it is on this prediction that we have here, and then gives you the answer. So for every x and y, it looks at the z value and then outputs it. So when I'm chatting with ChatGPT x and y, ChatGPT gives me a response z. So this is just a simplification and oversimplification of what is actually happening in the background of it. It just does some calculation. As you can see, there are no data sets on all of these functions that you're looking at here because we have already created the function. So once the math function has been created, we don't need the data set. So anybody that says that, anybody that thinks that whenever you are chatting with an AI model such as ChatGPT is looking at some data, no, it's not looking at some data. As long as the function has been created, it does not need the data anymore at that moment, unless you are creating another function for it. So this is just a very broad overview of what is going on behind in an AI and how the data is related to an AI model. So I'll hand over to Mr. Justin.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Cutting down like functions, and then in order to train new functions, you need the model weights. Yeah, that's really cool stuff. Thanks for sharing that and those visualizations that us humans can understand. All right, I'm going to switch the spotlight. I think that worked. So I'll go back to sharing kind of how we can tie this all back and how do you actually use these models is the, a big question that I see a lot of people ask me at least is, AI is cool, but how do you actually use it? So this is a Microsoft Power Platform event, so I will talk about the Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and kind of the licensing here. So there's 3 types of licensing, and they're a little bit confusing. The one, pay-as-you-go, and the message pack here all allow for you to do the demo we're about to do today. This $30 a month Copilot license here would work if everybody in your Microsoft organization also had this license, so you can use Microsoft Teams then. So me and Adedapo or me and Caleb, for example, could all talk to this agent, but you would not be able to publish this agent on Facebook or on the website in the example I'm going to show you. So that's the kind of the reason. This is a little confusing, I think, to a lot of people. So what we're going to do today is with this demo, I'm going to show you how to create a Copilot. Well, not really create. I've done a lot of the work, and you'll see it's pretty easy. I'm just going to create a RAG database behind the scenes so that it'll pull our website data. Then we're going to kind of show workflow automation using a prompt helper. So if you've ever used ChatGPT, that will be like, oh, if I share GPT with you, you might have 5 questions that are prompted for the bot to easily get you started. And then the last one will be a workflow that will trigger based off of our input. So let's get right into that. I'm going to switch the share here. And I will share first, I think, the... when do I want to share? I want to share this one. Okay. So this is the Copilot Studio that I'm sharing now, and this is our Copilot agent. You can see kind of all your agents here. This is the agent that's on our site. I was actually just looking. They add new features to this all the time, which is really, really cool. So this one here, this is a new feature, this add agent. So you could add another agent that talk to each other's. And like Adedapo said, they only work on a certain amount of data. So what the best practice seems to be is people will create multiple agents with smaller data sets, and then they'll have a larger agent to kind of orchestrate them. These are the tools that your agent has access to. So kind of here's the 2 that I gave it access to. And then this is the knowledge base. So let's go now to where it's implemented. Back here, stop sharing. We're going to test all this live too, so this will be kind of fun. There we go. So this is our new website. Thanks, Caleb, a ton for doing this, by the way. So you can see it's right now this Copilot is just embedded. It's just in a JavaScript web application on our website. So anybody who goes to FlowDevs.io, I can send the link to. If anybody actually wants to test this live, you totally can. I'm curious how that would all work. Caleb, can you actually send that if you can? I'm not sure where my chat went. Maybe I can find it. Either way, it's FlowDevs.io.
What do you need me to send the full website URL?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Cool. And then So these are the pre-prompts like I was talking about. We'll do the schedule a meeting prompt to start out with. So it's going to ask, now it's going to just respond based off of this prompt here. What is the email address of the person you want to send it to? So I did create an email address for this. And to prove that it's live, there's no email addresses in here, or email. There's one in the deleted, so hopefully we don't have to grab it back. But we'll see here. All right, so then now
this is a live demonstration. Good.
Yeah. So then now I just got the email here from FlowDevs to schedule a booking link. So all of that was just from our website. So a lead could come in. You can embed this, the Microsoft Copilot chat app, in any page. So for example, if your page needed to have a login or something like that, and this Copilot can work on 1 cent a message. So if you were to try to figure out how much this costs, if you didn't want to do the $200 a month, it would be 1, 2, 3 messages. So 3 cents to do this. But let's go back here and do this one. So there's another flow. In this example, I'm going to say like one of our clients is upset or frustrated, and they're like, come to our website, and it's like, oh, general support. So it's like, I have a problem with my Microsoft we're just saying like my Microsoft Power Automate flow is not working, right? I can't get it to work. So, okay, so it actually tried to help me there. So this is actually returning back some just documentation from Microsoft even. So let's actually, so on this one, we're gonna have to prompt a little bit different. So I tried to say more specific. So now it's asking me, you can see that my flow triggered because it's a very specific prompt. It's not using Gen AI to generate a response. So please provide me your name. So my name is Justin. And then please provide me an email address. We're going to provide that same email address. And this one is going to actually ask what my problem is. So it's going to say like, what's my problem? I'm going to say, I have a problem. And there, it should have just sent us an email and the client, so we know that, and see how it's from a different email box here. This one doesn't have all the HTML tagging, but for example, if you wanted to, if this was to create like a ticket in your CRM or a task on a board or a file in an Excel or a item in an Excel table, anything like that would be done through there. I do want to show the last thing I'm going to show now is we'll close these out, and I'm just going to show the general reg aspect of this chatbot. So, and let's just talk to it and see. We can ask, what does FlowDevs do? And hopefully it'll answer. So now you can see that it used our website based off of those links that I gave it in the knowledge to then respond using GPT-4o right now, and it gives you links to those pages. It looks like this one. This one is the the QuickBooks Update software that we wrote. But so then it just responds back using that for you. If there's any questions on that, I think we can probably open it up to questions now, or if anybody wants to talk. There's plenty of stuff I can show, but I'm curious if what people are interested in here as well. So, yeah.
You can just, anyone can raise their hand if they have any question at this point.
I have a question then. So you were kind of talking about the AI, like a large language model, or the the weights of the model, whatever you want to call it, just being functions that are kind of built, and those functions are one of the trillion parameters or whatever, one of the, you said neurons. So when you say like train a new function, does that mean that you need all of the previous functions then too? So if you wanted to train, for example, an existing model, you have a certain amount of parameters, and let's say you wanted to train those parameters, you would at least need to have them to make it better, or you couldn't just like take something that's existing and just put a new function on it. Maybe, or is that fine tuning? Maybe, I guess I'm just trying to understand.
Okay, so that's a very wonderful question. So actually, what is happening is that there's something called a pause during training. When a large language model, for instance, is getting trained, once you've trained it, what happens? It's going to output a model, which will be a file. It can come in different formats, like the ONNX format. That's the most. It's more of like a general purpose format, ONNX format. Within that file, we'll have a store of all the parameters that has been arrived by your by the training. Yes. So those parameters that you're talking about, those parameters are just how do I put it? They are just numbers within the function that can be changed. They are numbers that can be changed within the function. If you remember in my demonstration, we were able to see that when the parameter is changing, what happens? The function is also changing with it. So once you have gotten the set of parameters that fits the data set the best, what happens? You have your model, which is just shows like a series of lots of numbers. Those numbers are what? Parameters that can be fine-tuned. So it gets saved. So when you have more data that you want to train your model upon, it's what happens? It then unfreeze this some aspect of these parameters for further tuning. You understand? So when you unfreeze this aspect, unfreeze means that it can then be changed. So this parameter that can then be changed then starts looking at the new data that you've fed it into it. But in the case of agents that you have now, like in this Copilot that you've demonstrated, what is happening is that is looking at the knowledge base. The knowledge base can be the website, it can be the document, it can be the CSV file, it can be anything that it is. What happens? It goes through that knowledge, which can be either through a vector search or a semantic search, or just takes the data itself and just pass it to the model, so that the model will now have like a sort of a scaffolding around its response. It will have like a context for which to give you a relevant response. So when you are using Copilot, you are not actually training the model. What happens? You are just passing the context to it. The context is gotten from the knowledge base. So it will have more background information, so as to give you a more relevant response to your answer. So each time it's looking at those data, is not training the model. The model still remains unchanged, but it's actually just looking at the data that you passed to it. I'm not sure if I've answered your question sufficiently.
Yeah, so I think you did. So you were saying like you have to unfreeze those parameters, and then from there you would be able to then do that. But you could also, like you're saying, apply knowledge on top of it to not change the parameters, but just give it better context.
Exactly.
Yeah, and exactly. I'm curious. You had mentioned like also kind of giving it where it lives in, and I kind of feel the same way about like the multi-agent thing, like we were just talking about. You're keeping the model very specific to the task with the very specific amount of data, just like you would, if you're not going to write a whole book and then have 10 books. You're probably going to read one book at a time, not read 10 books at a time.
Yes, exactly.
The other,
so I think,
go ahead.
Okay, so you want to ask the next question? Can go on.
I wanted to just mention that one thing that you had shown me too was with the Microsoft Copilot, the other one can do some diffusion, or it can do the images, like it can graph images. That was kind of interesting. The code interpreter, I think, is what you would. Could you maybe just kind of explain what the code interpreter just makes it so it can use a math function then, right?
Actually, what happens when you have a code interpreter is that it makes it possible for the model to pass the generated code to probably a Python code interpreter, because most of the generated code are usually in Python. Python is one of the most popular programming language. So when you mention code interpreter, it's usually talking about Python code interpreter. So when you have your code interpreter enabled in an agent, it makes it possible for the generated code of the model, that is the LLM, makes it possible for us to run that code within the chat interface of the agent. So when that code is being generated by the model, the code is then passed to the code interpreter for it to run. So when it runs that code, it will then output the image. That image that is being outputted can be outputted by a matplotlib or a Seaborn library. There are lots of Python libraries that can actually generate visualizations of data sets for us. That is what is happening. So it's not the model that is graphing this. It's the Python library from the Python interpreter that is actually making those graphs when you enable your code interpreter.
Okay, I'll stop for 1 second to see if anyone, put your questions in chat too, but I have more questions just based off that, just because curious.
Oh, definitely, we get to it. Somebody asked the question on the.
They'd asked about training, chat. I think. Yes.
Yeah.
How is training done? Okay. Sorry.
So how is the training done? What is the process of this training? Good. That's a very good question. So when you're talking about training is the same thing as fitting. Yes. In math, fitting just means that you are changing the parameters of the math function in order to fit the data set that has been loaded in the model. That is what training does. So when you are training, you are trying to fit a function. When you are fitting a function, what happens? You are changing the parameters randomly. You are making random changes to the parameters, and then the function will be changing slightly until it fits the data set that you are training upon. So now, how would the model know that it is sufficiently trained? The model will know when it's sufficiently trained when the error has reduced, depending on the error function that you're using. Like if you're using a mean squared error, it's going to be looking at it. For every training cycle, it's going to be calculating the mean squared error. And once the mean squared error is sufficiently low to the point that it doesn't go lower than that, it is said to be sufficiently trained. And you have to be careful with this training. You don't want to overfit your function. When you overfit your function, it means that there is absolutely no error whatsoever. You have eliminated every error. That is, your function touches every data point perfectly. The reason why you don't want to do this is because the data set doesn't always 100% captures reality. Yes, because we are not living in a mathematical simulation. Reality is not a mathematical simulation, so that means mathematical function is not going to perfectly model reality. This is the reason why we don't want to perfectly fit our function to the data set. That is, we don't want to overtrain our model with it. So I hope I've been able to answer Mr. or Mrs. Mercy Yusuf the question on what the process of training is. You can give a thumbs up if I've been able to answer your question.
We got another one in chat too. And this is actually kind of, a great question as well. With the Power Platform, the whole point of Microsoft's Power Platform is to be very drag and drop, put the block here. So I can show you in a matter of seconds. I'm hoping I say that. We'll see. Let's share the right screen. How you can do this and not be a developer. So now you can see this agent. We can go here, create a new agent, and you can actually have the agent. So a helper for support computers or something. And then what is happening behind the screens here, or behind the screen, is it's basically using Gen AI to come up with your system prompt to do all this. So let's just say question person. I don't know. Let's be random. Being nice. The one thing that ChatGPT works in a very similar way to this. So now it's asking if it wants to add knowledge. Let's say now it should try to add knowledge for us as well. And then this all looks good, so we can just get create. And the other one that you can actually just apply to your Microsoft account works. It's actually much easier to use than this one. I just don't have a license because we use ChatGPT at FlowDevs, but we're actually probably going to switch to this. This just came out, so it just got better. So now you can see here it filled out our general instructions. Please provide friendly and supportive assistance. And all of this is button clicks. So if I wanted to add a tool, I could add tools, which like MCP servers are things people talk about, but I didn't want to really go that deep into it. You could connect those here. You can actually change the model now, which is brand new. So this you can change now to be 4.1. And as you can see, all this is not, it's all click, touch, add a button, click, you want to add more knowledge. Let's add a file, like Adedapo said, add your CSV file, or add, whatever you want here. I don't know if I have a good file. I do actually. So like this file, it'll take a while to upload, but that file has a bunch of data in it. So now this agent would have access to this, and you can say like, that file has a bunch of route data in it. We'll see if this actually, yeah, so it did actually review the source. So now it returned back with it like you had said, Adedapo, which was kind of my question, was like, if you have, it's basically calling a code interpreter, a math function, to then search the knowledge base and then return, certain things. So basically it used a search to get all the data from your SharePoint file, and then it returned an answer based off that data, and then it also opens a reference so you could bring up that Excel file. But let's say like for the example that I did, I'll show you how I did that, and that's very simple as well. In the tools section here, so I have FlowDevs escalate. No, we'll just do schedule because that one just sends an email. So all you do is you choose the inputs here. So I say that the AI needs to have an email address and it has to have a name before it can trigger our Microsoft Power Automate flow. This has a description, schedule with Copilot. So I kind of used our initial prompt, schedule, as the key word to trigger this Power Automate flow. And when you think about these low-code automation tools, that's usually the hardest part, is defining a trigger and then figuring out what data you need. In this case, we only needed to have email, but you can see here it grabs the email address, and then actually this one composes the email and then it sends it. So kind of like you had mentioned as well about the code interpreter, you're basically just giving it access via the tools section to a code interpreter. I hope that I kind of went very in deep, but no, you don't have to be a developer. You just have to know where to click, I would say. That's the hardest part. Yes, you can generate charts or graphs, but I can't with this one. You can with the other one. You can generate graphs, right? Because we had tested that. Me and Adedapo had actually tested that, and it generated like the Python graph. It used it used the tool to create the graph and plot it and do all that cool stuff. But we found that this one doesn't have access. But I mean, even today, logging in as we're doing this presentation, that whole agent feature is brand new. So that's one of my personal frustrations with Microsoft is I mean, it's with AI though, is it's changing so fast. You just gotta refresh the page basically. But yeah. Yeah, and I would, if you don't want to host your bot, I would recommend the $30 a month license. And I don't think you have to pay anything right away, but that one works great if you have a company. Otherwise, just use ChatGPT. Like if you have multiple people, like if you have 3 people, you all need to talk and stuff, it works great. Or you have what were we talking about, Caleb? We were talking about earlier that if you have a bunch of Microsoft files already, like let's say you're already using SharePoint, OneDrive, all that other stuff, then it's also might as well use Microsoft Copilot because you already have all your data there.
Yes. Which Microsoft had recently updated within the past couple of weeks with Copilot, like 365 specifically, where it's that I believe that's a $30 a month license for US dollars. And they have like a notebooks feature, and you can connect your SharePoint knowledge base essentially, and I think OneDrive as well. But also within the last few weeks, ChatGPT also came out with that ability where you can connect your SharePoint, get easily access files, Google Drive even as well. So, like Justin said, it's all changing very, very fast. So you got to just kind of keep up on the trends and the latest news, especially from Microsoft and ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would like to mention that the code interpreter, even though it doesn't work as expected on Copilot, actually works on an M365.
Okay.
We tested it out together with Mr. Justin, and we saw that it actually worked.
I wonder if we could do that quick here, just using the I was wondering if it would. I mean, we could test it live. I have it up. Let's just try it. We have 3 minutes left. I'll try it. So this is the other Copilot here. I'm just going to say create a graph with a bunch of random numbers and plot them, right? That's what we should do. I think that would be good. I really was curious too, because everyone's very curious, at least what I've seen, about reasoning models, and what you just mentioned about the code interpreter. Nice, it did use it there. So it didn't do
graph.
Yeah, a beautiful. It didn't really plot them; it line graphed them, but that's okay. Close enough.
So you can see how easy it is to use Copilot and M365, right? It's very, very easy to use.
Yes, it is. And it works great. Like it works really great with Microsoft products. Here's a generated FlowDevs business plan that I just spent 0 seconds creating. We're ready to go get our funding. But yeah, I'll leave it open to any questions. Thanks so much, for everybody for joining. This has been a lot of fun for me. So thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed our town hall, a virtual town hall, and we hope you're able to get a lot of value from this. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. We will. Feel free to email us. Let us know what we're all around. So thanks. Bye, everybody.